Tonight on GamePoints 378, E3 is officially dead now. Insomniac seems to have been hacked, and the day before is a joke. Let's go ahead and get right into things, but first I want everyone to know this is an Audience Interact podcast, so feel free to leave your questions, comments, concerns, etc. Regardless of where you're watching, I want to know what you guys think. Feel free to join the podcast. And if you're live, like we stream every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints, join the conversation as well. All right, let's go ahead and get into our very first topic of the show here, and that is E3 is officially dead. Now, I know it has more or less been dead for at least the past couple years now. I think the last time they did a live show, like with people physically in a space, was 2019. It's been a while, and it has been on live support ever since then. Well, it seems like the ESA has mercifully put a bullet into the corpse that was E3 shambling about LA with this message right here. After more than 2 decades of E3, each one bigger than the last, the time has come to say goodbye. Thanks for the memories. Good game, well played. And that's it. A very unceremonious finish to what was the largest video game trade show every single year. This was the Super Bowl of video games. People would tune in to every single press conference and new reveal and comment, and they'd have watch parties, and I would stream it live myself every now and then. But it died, unfortunately, and it has been dying for a while. And it wasn't COVID that killed it, though it certainly accelerated it. The signs were on the wall for many a year now. Major publishers started pulling out. I think Sony was one of the first big ones to jump out in 2019. It was soon followed by all the other big boys who realized, why am I paying for all this floor space when I can hold a Nintendo Direct style event and not pay the ESA anything at all? Furthermore, it had a series of mishaps. The biggest one that I could think of course, being that E3 data breach. Remember that one when they had all the journalists' home addresses and phone numbers just on an unsecured website that anyone could access before someone, Sophia Norwitz, by the way, on YouTube, went, "Hey, your shit's just out in the open." It was it was bad. Jeff Keighley ended up parting ways with them eventually, creating his own Summer Game Fest as well, which has been doing pretty well for itself over the past few years. Seems to be the natural successor to E3 and a little bit more of a timely manner. Let's be honest here, all that stuff happened in 1 week. While entertaining on our end, I loved getting just bombarded with news, made it hell for developers and PR teams across the industry. Furthermore, let's take them out of it. Let's say you don't care about how hard they have to work to get that up and going. What's in it for you? Well, honestly, with so much shit announced in 1 week, things slip through the cracks constantly that were announced at E3 but overblown by other bigger announcements. And furthermore, making these vertical slices, these presentation demos, takes months out of development time. So while E3 had its time in the sun to shine, I think we are ready to move on. In fact, I think we have moved on even a couple years ago before they finally put the nail in the coffin here. E3 has just never really been the same. You can say since COVID, but honestly, it happened a little bit before then, like I was alluding to before. It's just sad that this is how it goes out, with a 2-sentence tweet. The first thing we've heard from the EA account, by the way, since they announced their closure last year on March 30th. Or this year, I guess. Yeah, not last year, this year, right at the end of the year, it's all the same. This is how E3 ends, not with a bang, but with a... It's a shame, right? I have waxed poetic about the loss of E3 many a times now. And it's that same nostalgia, right? We always think about Hollywood Video and Blockbuster going down to the video store on a Friday to rent some game that you don't know if it's going to be great or not. It could be shit, it could be amazing, but you're stuck with it over the weekend. And so you're going to enjoy playing it regardless if it's an LJN piece of shit or if it's something like Donkey Kong Country. Dating myself here with how old I am. It's just, it's there is something sad to see it pass. We all knew it was coming. We all understood that E3 was on live support. We had times to go through the stages of grief, as it were. And now we just have to accept that it is never coming back. And in the end, I do think it's for the best because I think it's somewhat inarguable that the direct style video is way better than 4 hours of mindless live floor show shenanigans. I don't need to see a 20-minute presentation on Wii music. I don't need to have Pele get carted out and talk about FIFA for 30 minutes. Just give us a tightly edited sizzle reel, maybe an hour tops of what you got coming. That's really all we need. Look to Devolver, by the way, if you actually want to add some weird, wacky shit to it. They're probably the leaders as far as that goes. So Nintendo leading the way many years before everyone else kind of joined in on that. Take a look at chat here real quick. Lord Crush says, remember skipping school work back in the day to watch G4's E3 coverage. Those were good days. Same here. That was back when G4 was actually kind of cool. No one watched it. There's a reason why it doesn't exist anymore. And I'm talking about old G4. Not that weird reboot that was kind of a shell of what once was. That's a rant for another time. That new E3 really did feel like it was meant to kind of ridicule the people who watched old E3, though. There was something nostalgic about it all of it, though. Like you said, the good old days. And that's now gone. But that doesn't necessarily mean we don't have things in its wake. Gamescom is still kicking Tokyo Game Shows around. You have Jeff Keighley's Summer Games Fest when Guerrilla Collective and the indie scene with the indie mix things and all the individual not directs are happening when Sony and Microsoft do their own things. Nintendo's still cranking out directs every couple months or so. We'll still get our marketing directly pumped into us, and let's admit it, it was all just marketing, but damn it, it was marketing we enjoyed. It was marketing we liked. We liked to get hype. It is okay to get hyped every now and then. What is important, however, is to keep those expectations in check. Seeing Keanu Reeves walk out on stage to show that he's in Cyberpunk 2077 was a banger moment. I remember watching that live. I felt exhilarated for a moment there. And then Cyberpunk 2077 actually came out. Now, it's in a good state now. That's not to say that a bad game can't become good, but at the time, we were significantly overhyped for something that didn't deserve it. But it is okay to let loose every now. As long as we have that balance, as long as we have that restraint that seems to be so difficult for many a gamer to grasp onto. After all, it is a hobby driven by excess. You don't just get a game for 2 or 3 hours and then beat it and be done with it. Many people out there devour it. I'm going to look at every single note, every single pixel, every corner. I'm going to try to break it. Games encourage exploration, even linear ones, to see if you can't find a way to break the world with bugs or cheats or exploits. It rewards obsessive behavior. So, of course, the fans are going to end up latching on to any bit of hype news, and they knew exactly how to hype it. The problem started coming in when we started believing everything that we saw from the people who were trying to sell us a product and didn't care whether that product was actually good or not because they already have our money. That's not to say that we can't be excited. I'm not saying we all need to be jaded assholes, especially E3, which was the excess of. It is okay to look back on those days fondly. But let us not look back at them with rose-colored glasses. Look back at them as they were. Fun, great, entertaining bits of marketing meant to make us be separated from our money to throw it at the unseen game that we only get a logo for. There is camaraderie in seeing something we can all be excited about and hyped for because we think about what it could be. It is not jaded to say, however, that it is best to be aware of what is actually the game going to be. Caveat emptor, let the buyer be right. But yeah, E3 now officially dead. Started in 1995, I believe, by the way, so it's been around for just shy of 30 years, give or take. I think it's like I'm not going to do the math. I think it's just shy of 30 years. I think it's like 27, 28 years. I'm too old to do math anymore. But yeah, it's a shame just to see it go out with this whimper. I wish they would have had one more big bang year and then went, okay, that's it. But that's just not the nature of things. Things tend not to go out on their high note because they always want to get one more high note in. And the show did overstay its welcome. Anyways, let me know what you think down in the comments below. I want to get your guys' take on E3. I know for some people it was a bucket list item. For others, it was completely pointless. And for people like myself who are kind of in/out of the industry, while I never actually had to work in E3, I know a lot of people who were run ragged by this goddamn show. And they always viewed it as a waste of time and resources. So at least they can hopefully take things at a much more leisurely pace. Let's go ahead and move on to the next topic here. Via IGN, hackers reportedly breached Spider-Man 2 dev Insomniac and released Wolverine and staff data. Don't worry, I won't be showing any images of what might have been leaked or any spoilers for the upcoming game. Just to get that out there right now. So if you're squeamish about having anything like that pop up, it's not going to show up on here unless they somehow throw it in there and I missed it. To the article itself. A ransomware group has allegedly hacked Marvel's Spider-Man 2 developer Insomniac and put stolen data up for sale. The Rossidia random group claimed to have breached Insomniac, obtaining information on the upcoming Wolverine game as well as private staff information. IGN has asked Sony for comment. According to Cyber Daily, Rossidia posted limited data to back up its claim. This includes annotated screenshot reportedly from Wolverine, character art, and staff passport scans. That more than the game itself getting leaked is a level of fuckery that is beyond your typical ransomware hack when you actually have information on your employees. Back to the article. The Cyber Express reported that Rossidia is now selling the data for 50 Bitcoin or around $2 million with a 7-day deadline. The implication is that the hackers will release the stolen data if it does not receive payment before the end of the self-imposed deadline. Now, if you come up here and take a look at the update itself, Sony has acknowledged today's reports of a security breach at Insomniac and said it is investigating. It added that it does not believe any other Sony Entertainment and Interactive Entertainment or Sony divisions were affected. The SIE statement in full issued to IGN reads as follows. We are aware of reports that Insomniac Games has been the victim of a cybersecurity attack. We are currently investigating the situation. We have no reason to believe that any other SIE or Sony divisions have been impacted. So it seems like the hack was able to get through Insomniac servers directly rather than going through Sony and then into Insomniac. So that's something to take into consideration, that they need to tighten up cybersecurity at Insomniac. But that said, no matter how tight you have your cybersecurity, people are going to get in. Technology is advancing faster than security is, which is why I think you're starting to see more and more of these leaks popping up everywhere. That, and my gut tells me these companies typically pay out. I said my gut. I know, bad host. You should have done some research on it. But if you think like a company, right? What is more important to you? Spending $2 million or having all of your employee data leak? Potential lawsuits that come from that. Most of the time, they're probably just going to spend the $2 million and call it a day. After all, it is just $2 million to Sony. A lot of money to us, chump change to them. But there's been a very massive uptick in this stuff, and I think you might be hitting a watershed moment where companies are going to immediately start just going, no, we don't care. You're starting to see some big hacker groups getting taken down. There was the Take-Two hacker group. I can't remember whose name it was, but they ended up arresting the leader of that, I believe. Once again, let me know if I'm wrong on that. But this is just a way of life. Internet cyber warfare, for lack of a less pretentious term, is very much in effect constantly. Even at a higher than corporate scale, China tries to hack US servers, we try to hack theirs. Corporations probably, allegedly, but you know they are, allegedly, constantly trying to get one up on each other through security breaches and insert your hacker terms here. I'm not a computer guy. I barely know how to run mine. But you know what I'm talking about. This is just a fact of life. However, something this big doesn't happen all often. A lot of times intrusions tend to get caught relatively quickly. But all it takes is one. And it seems like that Residia was able to get that one through the goalie. Whether or not they could be tracked down afterwards, who knows? But it does seem they legitimately have the goods for Sony to actually come out and go, yeah, this happened. They're a victim of it. Normally, Sony does the we do not comment on rumors and speculation at this time kind of thing. So the fact that they're commenting on it, I think, means they not only got a lot, not only that they were able to get in, but they were able to get a lot too. If you yourself are concerned about your PlayStation Network profile and passwords, I wouldn't necessarily be that worried. It does seem to be connected only to Insomniac, not to the PlayStation Network as a whole. However, an ounce of precaution is never unwarranted. So if you are worried, go through, change all of your passwords, which you should probably do in about once every 3 months. So anyways, update your settings. Just make sure everything is nice and copacetic on your end. So yeah, it seems like Insomniac has been hacked legitimately. And don't be surprised if you could potentially see a screenshot or two of Wolverine popping up. However, as I said, at the end of the day, I think Sony is less concerned about Wolverine screenshots going out there than they are things like employee passport scans. That one is significantly a little bit more damaging. Moving on, as we go ahead and go to the next topic while we're talking about scams, let's go to Game Informer for this one. The day before dev, Fntastic is shutting down just days after early launch. Now, if you haven't heard of the day before, I don't necessarily blame you. It really wasn't that huge of a game. In fact, I was only made aware of it when this all started breaking a couple days ago. But it was kind of stylizing itself as an open world survivor MMO. Think DayZ, but really souped up. This development team are the same people that made Prop Night, a mid but somewhat popular game on Steam. It actually had some buzz behind it. And for many a year, people were talking, well, I shouldn't say people, a group of people, it wasn't like it was mainstream, were eagerly anticipating the launch of this game. And then it came out. To say that it was busted would be a compliment compared to the state it actually came in. Needless to say, within 24 hours after it launching, the game has been pulled from Steam and the developer shut down. Let's go ahead and, well, maybe shut down. We'll get to a little bit on that in a second. Let's go ahead and go to the article here for the rest of the story. I'm going to blow that up just a touch so you can probably read a little bit better. There we go. Where are you? Fntastic, the studio behind the day before, is shutting down. It announced the closure today with a statement that arrived just 4 days after the day before launch into early access on December 7th. The studio says its servers for the day before remain operational, but it also says at this moment the future of the game and its 2021 release, Prop Night, are unknown. Fntastic opened in 2015, and its first game, The Wild 8, was released in 2017. Now, they did release an official statement. I'm going to go ahead and bring up here so you all can see it. Bring it up so I can read it as well. Today, we announced the closure of Fntastic Studio. Unfortunately, the day before has failed financially, and we lack the funds to continue. All income received is being used to pay off debts to our partners. Who those partners are, they don't list. You'd imagine the publisher. We returned all of our efforts, resources, and man hours. We invested all of our efforts, resources, and man hours in the development of the day before, which was our first huge game. We really wanted to release new patches to reveal the full potential of the game, but unfortunately we don't have the funding to continue work. It is important to note that we didn't take any money from the public during development of the day before. There were no pre-orders or crowdfunding campaigns. We worked tirelessly for 5 years, pouring our blood, sweat, and tears into the game. At this moment, the future of the day before and Prop Night is unknown, but the servers will remain operational. We apologize if we didn't meet your expectations. We did everything within our power, but unfortunately we miscalculated our capabilities. Creating games is an incredibly challenging endeavor. We're grateful to everyone who supported us during these difficult years. It's been a fantastic journey over the past 8 years, and they give a little timeline of everything that they've released. Giant clusterfuck, to say the least. Steam has actually yeeted it off the stores and offering refunds to anyone who's bought it, regardless of their past for 2-hour market. Take a look at chat here. Rocco says, so sad the day before was such a daunting task. Yeah, I can imagine. They definitely... So you have to ask the question, right? Was this always meant to be a scam digital homicide style, or is this just a case of a bunch of ambitious indie devs biting off way more than they can chew? My gut tells me it's the latter. Because if it was another digital homicide, asset flipping kind of style situation, not to say asset flips weren't prominent throughout these games or anything like that, but they were actually making things with tangible results that people somewhat enjoyed. I do point to Prop Night. Not a game for me, but it actually had a community to it. So there were people who enjoyed things they made. It wasn't just a 100% broken mess. There was some entertainment to be had. I think they might have gotten a little too big for their britches, however, after that came out and went, hey, we can do this. Only realizing the amount of time and effort that actually goes into making an MMO, let alone a functioning one. Going back to the article itself here, by the way, let's go ahead and hop back here. Haha, if I can find out where I was looking. Or maybe not. Maybe not. Alright, fine. I was looking for something, but I'm not gonna... Can't quite track it down. This game has more or less been pulled off of Steam, though. So if you're thinking of taking a look at the train wreck, you're not going to be able to. If you did buy it on Steam, they are offering full refunds. The reason why, however, there might be a little shadiness here is because while Fntastic has closed, there is another developer that they're associated with. Right here is Steam database for the Wild 8, one of their earlier games. Note that they have changed their name. It is no longer Fntastic. It's a studio here called 8 Points. You could see that they did the change list 2 days ago, which I believe was before the actual statement dropped. So they had an idea of what was coming. Or at least before, on the day that they did change. Typically, you only change the name of the studio when you're trying to hide something about it. This is somewhat shady and doesn't look good on you there, Fntastic. Fntastic or Fntastic? Fntastic. I keep wanting to call it Fntastic. I think there's an esports team called Fntastic doing the FN style thing on it. Fntastic, this is not a good look when you're suddenly changing the name on your past games, hoping to maybe drop the idea that you're associated with the day before. I get why you left it on Prop Night, which they did. Last time I checked, it still says Fntastic's the developer Prop Night. But Prop Night is a little too closely associated with the day before. However, the Wild 8, maybe not so much. Maybe they're hoping just to change their name, let the controversy die down, and come back with something else. Maybe something smaller. And this industry does have those tales of redemption. No Man's Sky and Final Fantasy XIV are definitely two of them I always point out, and also Cyberpunk. So it is possible they might come back with something else that's just as strong, but to tie it back into the hype conversation I was having earlier, this is one of those situations where you need to sit back and just kind of look at what's being presented, keep your expectations in check, have a little bit of understanding of how difficult this shit is to make. So when you have a small studio promising you AAA level MMO games as service survival game, like think of a super high polished DayZ, maybe hold back on the hype there, maybe temper expectations just a little bit. Hell, it could have been a major league developer saying that thing, and I'd be kind of like, let's see what the game looks like before we necessarily swallow that pill. Because you could always get the day before. It's never fun to see a game fall on its face. Do I think that they were deliberately trying to scam people? I don't believe so. I do think that it was just a bunch of people who got in over their head and went, fuck, shit, oops. Now what they should have done is just cancel the game completely. But that's 5 years of your work that you've put into. I get the need to go, fuck it, push it out and we'll fix it later kind of thing, because they've had that example set for them by major players, including CD Projekt Red with the aforementioned Cyberpunk. That doesn't mean it's the right thing to do, though. And in this case, it was clearly horrendously wrong. Let's take a look at chat here. B says the latter. They announced first that this was to be an MMO that had everything you wanted, or that had everything around you and was persistent and had a backstory. Every bullet hole, barricade, mess in a room because something that happened from the previous player. Then it became an extraction shooter. You were devastated. I was devastated. Yeah, I do know that the change of scope was something that they were not necessarily upfront on, and people can also say that's a bit scammy as well. I'm not saying that they weren't necessarily misleading people on its scope, but I don't necessarily think that they designed the game from the beginning going, we're gonna screw people over. I don't think many people actually do that. What I think happened is that they bit off more than they chew, and as the years went on and on and on, they realized, oh fuck, there's no way we can deliver on all these promises they made. The question is, are the devs at Fntastic malicious or incompetent? And in this case, I think it's incompetent. Now, there comes a point where the result is the same, regardless if it's malicious intent or incompetency, where the game is just busted. And they took a lot of people's money, which are getting refunded to them, probably through Steam's pocketbooks, though. So there does come a point where you have to ask yourself, does it really matter? But it's one of those questions I want to just ponder around a little bit. Because if it's just incompetence, there's hope that this team might be able to get their shit together, come back with something a little bit significantly smaller in scope, and have it be pretty decent. If it's malicious, then they need to be thrown on the ash heap with it. Either way, regardless of what they come out with next, and it seems like they will be with this name change to 8 points here with their older games, regardless of what they make, go into it with a very leery eye. Because they've already shown that they are willing to release. Substandard is not the word. Busted is not the word. Broken isn't even a word. We're talking like pre-alpha stage of this shit. So, they might have a chance of redemption if it's incompetent. Might. But if it's maliciousness, get rid. Never need to see them again. Go back to chat here. I feel like they ran out of money and said, how can we put a cap on this and ship it to see if it will see our name? I'm sorry, let me start over again. I feel like they ran out of money and then they said, how can we put a cap on this and ship it out to see if the name will sell well enough to be able to finish later? Yes. They could have been, and that goes back to the malicious or incompetence debate. Were they desperate for cash to finish it, or like, if we could just get some people playing it, it'll be enough sales coming in that we can finish the last bits of it? Or was it, we spent 5 years on this, we're going to take a little bit of money from it, it's going to fail, but we'll get our cut? We don't know, we'll never know. They should have sold what they had to a bigger dev. So here's the thing about that, though, too. The fact that the day before was so anticipated shows how in demand this idea is. Bigger studios are kind of limiting themselves to extraction shooters because they see Tarkov. But the DayZ, despite my issues with it, still has people playing it. There is demand for a massive MMO survival game. It just takes a lot of money to do it with potentially very little reward. So I get why a lot of bigger devs, especially right now, with one statistic when we talk about some layoffs, because of course, that I'll bring up later in the show, shows that the online gaming aspect is where most of the layoffs are happening. So your big publishers are very reluctant to lean into games as service. You even had Sony, who was supposed to be launching, 12 games as service games in the next few years, really pulling back away from that statement as the idea of an constantly online. People are just out of time and out of money for it. Anyways, if you were able to try Day Before, if you had some hopes on it and dreams on it, let me know down below. I didn't even know about this game until a couple days ago, but it sounds like some of you guys were definitely into it. Wasn't the Day Before supposed to be a Walking Dead game that Fntastic bought? I have no idea. I have not heard that rumor at all. Couldn't tell you. I doubt it. If I had to venture a guess, I doubt it. All right, moving on. I did allude to this a little bit earlier from Video Game Chronicle. Embracer finally confirms closure of TimeSplitters studio Free Radical. This isn't the most fucked up story when it comes to layoffs that we had. I still think the Bungie layoffs were up there. But the fact that it took Embracer more than a few days after people from Free Radical were already saying, yeah, we've all been fired, to come out and say, yeah, we're closed, is a little fucked up. Now, for those of you who don't know, Embracer has been going through a massive restructuring over the past few months once a $2 billion deal with the Saudi Arabian investment fund fell through. And it's been leading to a lot of studio closures, a lot of cancellations, games that you probably never even had seen the light of day are just now gone. And Free Radical seems to be the latest casualty in a string of layoffs that is at Embracer. To the article here from Video Game Chronicle. By the way, the link to this and all the stories we talk about will be posted down below. I recommend you go read them yourself. PlayOn, the Embracer-owned games publisher in charge of TimeSplitters developer Free Radical, has confirmed the studio has been closed. It is with a heavy heart that we must announce yet another difficult decision, the company said in a statement issued to VGC. Today, we have to confirm the official closure of Free Radical Design and say goodbye to many remarkable, talented, and hardworking people. We are beyond grateful for the incredible contributions of PlayOn and wish them the best of luck and success on their professional journey from here on out. So the writing on the wall was here. Over a month ago, we were reporting about how they had to enter in negotiations to see if they couldn't keep the studio open because UK law demands, I believe, 60 or 30 days to have a way to see if you can't save these jobs before letting them go. So you already had a massive outflux of employees going, yeah, the studio's fucked, let's look for another job. And then a few days ago, you had the rest of the team saying, hey, the rest of us here, there are about 80 or so, we're gone as of today. And then they finally released this statement. That's a little shady, that's a little fucked up, but in this year of massively traumatic layoffs, this is actually on the lighter side of things. Back to the article. VGC reported last month that Free Radical was at threat of being closed just 2 years after it was established as part of a huge company-wide cuts at Embracer and its own publishers. 2 years. Now that is one of those studios that were very likely developed as Embracer, or created as Embracer was thinking, we'll have infinite money coming in. Because there was a time where Embracer stock shot up over the course of a year, like I think 1,500%. People were pouring cash into Embracer. And so they started rapidly growing and not making anything. And then COVID hit and delayed everything. So now you have what I would imagine Embracer's going, it's okay, we're going to have money coming in at 2020 when these games finally launch. It's going to be great. 2021, 2022, and by the time 2023 rolls around, we'll be producing 7 or 8 games a year, a game a month, and we'll actually be able to afford all of these studios. And then the world stopped for 2 years, and nothing came out. And now you're set. That fucks up everything. Back to the article. Multiple developers posted on social media this week claiming that all 80 remaining staff at the company have been let go. For the past 6 months, Embracer has been carrying out a restructuring plan, which has already seen some game studios closed and some projects canceled. The company confirmed earlier this month that over 900 employees were let go during its second quarter ended in September. By the way, that's not counting the 80 that were let go today. To give you an idea of how horrendous video game development is, I'm going to take you to a site here called videogamelayoffs.com. Let's let you take a look at that chart here real quick. Let me see if I can blow it up some for you. Take a look at chat in the meantime. Chat saying, game development is such a scary career. I've heard of so many horror stories of no whisper of your job being in jeopardy and just finding walking papers on your desk. It's sad because the only people entering the industry do not do it for security but pure passion. Yes. Yeah, I mean, even if you're a big name, you get axed. I mean, Bungie axed some of the people that were with them from the old Myth days. So even if you're a huge name in the industry, you can get shit canned like anyone else can. It is grueling work. What you're seeing here is a site called videogamelayoffs.com, where this gentleman has been keeping track of every video game layoff this entire year. And this is only ones that he was able to find. And notice there's a lot of these that have question marks on them. So we have no idea how many people were actually whacked. But if you add it all up, you're looking at an estimated total of losses of 9,000 jobs in 2023. Not counting the ones that we can't account for. So if it's got a big question next to it, it could have been 2, it could have been 200. We don't know. Now you could take a look at the chart that I was alluding to earlier. Percentage of layoffs by company type. One, you also have largest impact by parent company, with Unity topping out that list, followed by ByteDance, Embracer Group, Epic, and Amazon. But the biggest part of layoffs is happening in the online space. Not publishing, not AR, VR, not indie, not mobile, not tech, not publisher, not console. Online. The reoccurring spending group. The games as a service part of people are out of time. And with how the economy is in, people are out of money. So anything that requires reoccurring spending, MMOs, free-to-play games, the gacha stuff on mobiles, they're getting purged. And you can see the breaking, like I was alluding to earlier about how Sony was talking about how they're pulling back from the games as a service. How you're having just all these... I was about to go off on a massive list, but it's not going to add anything extra to the conversation. People are out of time. The market has been oversaturated with time thieves. Those little things we have to log on every day, get your daily rewards, but it's not going fast enough, so I got to spend $5 to get the boost. We're oversaturated. We've maxed out. We're tapped. The economy sucks. We can't even get the extra $5 to fucking spend to get the little bit of energy to get us the extra cube to mine us a little bit farther down the hole to get the diamond, only to be told we need 20 of those bastards before we get the next upgrade to get the platinum. We're done. We are spent. These layoffs are not going to. 2024, in my opinion, I'm not a financial expert, is going to dwarf this 9,000 employee number. I'm of the mindset that you're going to see major publishers completely fold. Ubisoft is the one that I think of when I make that claim. I think you're going to see them get gobbled up and have a reduction of headcount in the thousands sometime in 2024. And that is just one of many companies that I think aren't just going to get bought up and merged with, but outright disappear. I know I talk about this every, but I do it because please, 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 for the love of God, no matter how secure you think your job is, even outside of the gaming industry, know that 2024 is going to be a horrendous year. Because right now what's propping everything up are essentially 7 companies. Your big boys, Facebook, Google, Amazon, etc. And even they've had to add layoffs. And they're going to start filling it here too. And when that happens, the rest of it's going to come tumbling. So please be ready for it. Try to save some money up. Maybe buy a little bit below your means. Try to shore up whatever debt you have. Try to learn a couple of skills like gardening, so that way you can grow your own vegetables. I'm not talking about end of the world here or anything like that. I'm not quite that apocalyptic yet. But I do think we're on the verge of a depression. If this topic certainly hasn't depressed you, know that it is coming. And I do think that the games industry is in major trouble, even if you're one of the big players like PlayStation and Xbox. I think it is going to be very dark days ahead. As bad as this was, I do think for the industry when it comes to layoffs. So just please take the appropriate. I have one more story that I want to bring up. This has kind of been ongoing for a while. This is via CNBC. Google's loss to Epic will likely have little impact in the near term. That's right, Epic won. Epic was suing Google over having Fortnite on the App Store. I'm not going to go into the details on it, but this court case has been going on for quite a while now, I think since 2020, and it resolved in Epic's favor. Shocking. Essentially, a court said, hey, Google, you have a fucking monopoly, and you can't do that. Now, for anyone who thinks that this is going to change things, Google can appeal this and push it back and push it around and appeal again, and it has to go through multiple other courts. Even if this ruling stays, it's going to be another 5 to 7 years before we see anything come from it. But still interesting to know. Go to the article itself. A federal jury decided on Monday that Google's App Store has benefited from anti-competitive behavior, but it could take a long time before the company faces any potential changes to Google Play Store, and those changes are unlikely to hurt revenue significantly. That said, the ruling could give more ammunition to other antitrust cases against the company, even though those cases will likely take years to reach a resolution. By the way, the market did not care about this at all. I think Google stock was actually up even after this ruling came out, because they're just like, yeah, we know it's going to take years. We know it's going to take a decade plus. But still, right direction, I guess. Epic Games originally sued Google in 2020, alleging it uses dominant position as the developer of Android to strike deals with handset makers and collect excessive fees from consumers. Google collects between 15 and 30% of all digital purchases made through its storefront. Epic tried to bypass those fees by charging users directly for the purchases in its popular game of Fortnite. Google then booted the game out of its store, spurring the lawsuit. After a 4-week trial in the Northern California federal court on Monday, the jury unanimously found that Google had acquired and maintained monopoly power in the Android app distribution market, as well as the in-app billing market for digital goods and service transactions. Epic filed a similar suit against Apple, but lost in a federal appeals court in April. That's another reason you have to keep tampered expectation on this too, because if this gets bumped up to another court, the appeals court say, yeah, they can do this, too bad, and overrule it. Just how the legal situation works. Judge James Donato of the United States District Court, Northern District, California, will decide on the remedies in the next phase of the coming months. Google could be forced to change its Play Store rules, which is what Epic asked for, as opposed to monetary relief. So Epic did not actually sue them for money. They sued them to get the rules itself changed, which is interesting. I'll be interested to see if Google doesn't decide to go, hey, you want to settle off court, here's a bunch of money, to see if Epic drops it. Because if Epic can get a little crack in there, that opens the floodgates, like the article was alluding to earlier. This can be used to help other antitrust cases, because the more precedent you have, the better your case turns out in the legal world. I'm not a lawyer, I'm not an expert on that stuff. Keep that in mind. So what's this mean for us? Not much. Maybe 7 years down the road, we'll get something from this actually tangible, but for right now, I bring it up because it's a story we talked about once a couple years back, and I felt that this was an important enough update to actually warrant a little bit segment here at the end of the show. And being the end of the show, I do believe it is time to wrap things up. This has been GamePoints 378, and thank you all for showing up. I do stream this show live every Tuesday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here at twitch.tv/GamePoints. Can't watch us live, however, you can watch us at any myriad of video hosting platforms, be they Rumble, YouTube, BitChute, etc. Regardless of where you watch at, feel free to like, comment, subscribe, share, sub, throw bits at, all that good stuff. I want to know what you guys think out there, and you know what to do when it comes to support. You can follow me over on X at CapitalistPig21, and you can join our Discord group, linked down below, with all the stories we talked about today as well. I do also stream random games throughout the week here at twitch.tv/GamePoints. Right now I'm going through Against the Storm. It is a roguelite city builder. Kind of intrigued by it. Probably play more of it tomorrow, actually. I hope to see you all there. But until then, you all stay safe, take care. I'm out of here.